The next gentleman we're going to bring up is a real person too, and you're going to know because he's an engineer, and it's might not be as colorful as the actor, no doubt about that, right? Engineers tend to be a little bit tight, but he will go through some information, and he'll tell you exactly how he got to where he was. So without further ado, Chris, come on up. Dude, be entertaining.
All right, my name is Chris Peavy. I'm from the Houston area, and I'm not an actor. How do I know? These two people used to be employees of my wife.
Oh, no pressure. I did notice y'all are taking notes. What are you taking notes?
That's a lot of notes you're taking right there. It's all right here. So I have a sales background, engineering background. Previously worked for Baker Hughes, a pretty large oil and gas service company here in Houston. Who here works for the oil and gas companies or used to? See? Significant. How many of you liked the downturn over the past few years? Oh, that's right. That's why I got out, so I don't have to worry about that anymore. My wife, on the other hand, is a pharmacist, used to work for Walgreens, has recently transitioned out of that role into a 1099 job with another job. She can work from home, makes more money, so it's great. Like I said, I'm a native Houstonian. I have two children, 9 and 6. I joined Lifestyles in 2015, sat in your chairs right where you were, literally 7 years ago to the day. And now I'm a full-time real estate investor since February of 2019. Cool. Why did I join Lifestyles? Well, in 2015, for those of you that aren't oil and gas, realized that, for me and the service company, I realized that layoffs were coming to me first. I did not get laid off. I watched everyone else get laid off. Then I watched the operators lay off. Then I watched more and more rounds of layoffs. And then we kind of came back up. But I wanted to protect myself from the volatility of the oil and gas industry, commodity-based, just to try to, me as a man, trying to protect and help my family sustain our lives. Why did I join Lifestyles? Well, at first I was thinking, hey, I'll do single family, buy, put 20% down and, get a renter and do it. But then I met this guy who was just chewing my ear off. He was kind of one of those guys that you're like, man, he knows everything but doesn't do anything, right? But he was married to the lady that was one of my sponsors at one of the oil and gas companies I worked for. And so I had to listen to him. So he was pretty knowledgeable. He goes, hey, you got to check out Lifestyles. I did 2 houses. I'm like, okay, cool. Every time I bought an apartment complex, I sent her a text message. Thank you for your husband for chewing my ear off. But anyways, I brought me to Lifestyles. I checked it out. Come to find out, there's a lot of people within Lifestyles who are within oil and gas organizations, and they do this as a side hobby to invest. Some of them have retired full time from oil and gas to do this. That's all they do. Benefit from mentorship, make friends, and gain access to valuable information. Like they said, the map. And then surround myself with like-minded individuals, David, Lee, to help get myself to an ultimate goal of financial freedom. All right, so the deal we're going to talk about is a deal I bought a year ago, earlier this month. It's a 257-unit deal in Biloxi, Mississippi. I'm sure some of you are wondering, from Houston, why go to Biloxi? Cash flow, must have cash flow. Well, when COVID hit, deals were still exchanging hands. Lending was getting super aggressive. Deals with cash flow, great. But is it true cash flow or is it artificial, right? So deals in the tertiary markets like this, Biloxi, Mississippi, Alabama, they're going to sell at a higher cap rate, yes, but they're going to have good, sustainable, long-term cash flow.
Okay, so I don't know what cap rate you're using yet.
That's fine.
They bought in an area where he thought was going to go up in value. Y'all got that?
Bingo.
Got that. Just dumb it down for people like me.
So I purchased this property in 2021 for $15.4 million, which is about $60 a door. Today's standards, that's dirt cheap.
Wait, when 2021, that was in the middle of that COVID thing too, right?
Yep.
Like smack dab in the middle. All right, very good.
Cash out of pocket on this deal was about $7.2 million. Initial financing actually did a loan assumption on this, but the financing was 9.0.
Slow down with the $7.2 million. I don't think a lot of people know about $7.2 million.
All right, so
Can you break that down a little bit, Lee?
Cash out of pocket in our terminology means that's how much he raised to actually put in the deal. That was his like 20% down, 30% down, whatever he needed. So cash out of pocket of almost 7.2 million. Anybody have that? Few people do, right? So how would he raise How would he raise $7.2 million? He basically goes to Lifestyle and he says, do you want a partner? 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 And all these people said, yeah, I think that's a great deal. I think you're a great lead. We'll throw in. So how many partners do you have on this deal?
So on this deal, I have a little over 100.
Okay, and I will just tell you that is beeping insane. It's crazy how many partners. It's like herding cats trying to get people to understand that, right? All right, so was everybody like a $1 million investor? How much money did each person put in?
No, so I have investors from $25,000 all the way to $250,000.
So with $25,000, they can invest in your deal.
Yep.
Awesome. And then everybody live here in Houston?
No, so I have investors in Colorado, Arizona, Georgia, Michigan.
Very good. So when you come to the 2-day seminar and you hear David talk about you can invest anywhere you want and live wherever you want, that is what he's referring to. You can live in California and invest in Mississippi. But make sure you have a good lead or somebody's going to be there and monitoring that property. And that's what they've had. So
one last thing.
Yep.
Not everything, but one last thing. Sorry, my microphone fell off. So, one last thing. You have 100 investors, right?
Correct.
How many of them actually physically went to the property and looked at it with you?
I've had one.
1 out of 100. So the whole point is, everybody thinks they have to visit all this stuff. You just want your check. Who likes that idea? I just want to get that over your fears when you're buying across state lines.
yeah, and keep in mind, we're going to talk about percentage of returns and things like that, like how much. If you invested $25,000, if you invested $1 million and you get a 10% return, you're going to get 10% of your $25,000. You're going to get 10% of your $1 million. It's all relative. It's all in percentages. All right, very good. Go ahead.
So initial financing was 9.986, and then we put a probably 1.1 million in rehab.
Okay.
Current income is 219,000 per month. Expenses are running around 86, which leaves the net operating income of income minus expenses at about 133,000 a month, which leaves the actual net cash flow of 74,000 a month.
All right, let's hold on one sec. Just for the people that are newer into the room, we have income, which are income from residents, they pay us. We have expenses, which is operating expenses, and it gives us a thing called a net operating income, okay? That is the way multifamily is evaluated. It's based on your net operating income, your NOI. That's what it's based on, okay? So if NOI goes up, what happens to the value of your property? It goes up. If it goes down, what happens if your NOI goes down? Property value goes down as well, okay? David will go over that in the 2-day. If you don't really understand that concept, come to the 2-day again. You can take it as many times as you want if you remember. And then you get down to a thing called cash flow. What's the difference between NOI and cash flow? Your debt, your capital reserves, that's the difference. So it's your true cash flow, okay? And if you put that cash flow on an annual basis, that's about a double-digit return, 10%. Anybody getting more than 10% in their bank account right now? No? How about the stock market? Damn. All right.
Lee, I have one more question.
Yes.
Not only is it 10% return, but how much taxes will his investors pay on that 10%?
It really depends on where you're at in your tax, but it's a tax. It'll be 0, right?
He's an accountant. I know he'd give some nerd answer.
You're going to get a thing at the end of the year called a K1. It's basically your share of all the revenue and losses that you get with this property. We have a little thing underneath where it says cash flow. When you do your tax return, there's a thing called depreciation underneath that, which throws this into a negative situation. Okay? So you're actually losing money on your K1 on your taxes. But he distributed $250,000 so far. Does that look like a negative return to you? Now, so that's really the beauty of real estate, is you're going to have a loss for your tax returns, okay? But you're going to have cash in your pocket. Who wants that? Beautiful. All right. So based on the NOI, what did you buy this property at?
15
million? 15 million for. Its current valuation is $20 million. Okay? We'll go over this a little bit more in detail, but that's called a ton of money created, right? That's very good. That's a lot. All right, very good. So let's see a little bit about this property. Since it's in Mississippi, so why did you decide to go there again?
Cash
He
flow.
had all his teeth?
Cash flow.
Cash
very
flow.
good. Awesome. All right, so let's see some
All his
pictures.
teeth. This deal in general was really kind of a facelift. Clean it up, clean up the operations. That was the biggest thing. This deal was very poorly operated. So I shopped this property. I don't know if Lee wants me to tell this story, but I shopped this property. I was helping my wife's aunt move from New Jersey to Houston, and hey, come right down, go get on 10, and you drive right through. I'm going to shop the property. I walk right to the manager's office, shopping like I want. You know, I got a car full of crap, ready to go. Look like I'm ready to move in, right? So I'm the perfect prospect. Smells like marijuana.
420 all day.
Like,
Now, is that an amenity or no? I don't know.
I don't know. But from an operations standpoint, it's not good. So
Are you
just
talking about the office smelled that way?
office.
Wow, okay.
Exactly.
When you do this long enough, you realize.
Wait, what do you
when
know what it
there's-
smells like?
He was in
do.
law enforcement, he did a controlled burn.
Anyways, when you do this as long as we have, you know that that's poorly operated property. Either A, you're letting the people smoke, or B, the manager's doing it. Still not good. So when you know that, you know they're doing a whole bunch of other bad stuff on site, not screening people correctly. So this was primarily a huge operations play, and it's since taken off like crazy, and you'll see here. So first thing we did a quick facelift on the paint. Wood rot repair, kind of everything that's involved with getting the paint before you paint. Gave it a nice beachy tone, hired a designer to select all the colors so that I don't make a $110,000 mistake.
Yes, that's one of the things. I don't know. Do you teach that in a 2-day?
Well, we don't
Don't
let
pick your own
engineers
damn
pick
color.
anything for colors.
Don't pick your own colors.
Don't pick your own colors. Pay somebody to do it, because you can jack them up really quickly.
Yes. So here's they cut this picture, but this is two buildings. They're literally side by side. You can see one comparing to the other. Nice, clean beach feel. This is in Biloxi. It's 2 blocks from the beach. We get a lot of retired folks, people just trying to live the lifestyle, or people going to the Air Force, casinos, whatever, right? So just giving it that nice beach vibe attracted a lot of more quality residents, not homeless. We redid the office, nice clean beach feel, very simple upgrade. They're actually using an old unit. Do I turn this back into a unit and do a standalone office? Does it make sense, financial sense? No, probably not. We just kept it the way it was. Updating the amenities, literally just cleaning the pools and taking care of them. Seems like a pretty simple concept, but when you have to clean out shingles from Hurricane Zeta that happened 12 months before in one of these pools, once again, another thing you find about poor operation.
So I'm just curious, do people use the pool since the beach is 2 blocks away?
Absolutely.
Really?
I was shocked.
Very cool.
I mean, we opened the pools in May. I took a visit at the beginning of June, and it was packed.
Were they
From
your
open to
residents?
close. Yes, from my residents.
Never seen the beaches in Biloxi.
I have not.
They're about the color of this one out here on the
Oh, are they? Okay.
Not anymore. Not anymore. They've trucked a bunch of sand in this nice white sand beaches.
It's been a few years.
Yeah. We did a nice facelift on the monument. That was pretty easy facelift, but you can see before and after, nice, clean, modern feel. Help drive a higher quality resident. Light upgrades to the interiors. You can see before, literally a lot of these units they looked like this. They had good bones, right? I mean, very good functional 1-1s and a handful of 2-2s. But just needed the right touch. We did some of these. The picture on the right, you can see we have the upgraded flooring. We have gray lowers, white uppers, which was pretty trendy about 2 years
And
ago.
you have the $17 Costco lights.
Bingo.
Those.
And we were getting 100 to 150 more just for this light touch of upgrade. We did this on about 15 units, but then we saw such a tremendous demand for just kind of turning the other units and actually operating the property that we didn't have to do all the other stuff. We were getting $200 to $250 on just a turn on a unit that, just kick out the homeless person and it's not paying rent.
They're not paying
Okay,
rent.
you're being rude. Financially disenfranchised individuals.
Thank you, David.
Is that what they call them now these days?
Oh, no, it's Bernie Sanders supporter. What do you want to call them?
All right. Like it.
All right, so a little bit about the numbers. These are just some projection numbers that we had done, that I had done before actually acquiring the property, and numbers that we're actually hitting now. You can see income over the last year has been about $2.3 million. We project, based on the income increase we've seen last month and the month before, that we should hit about 2.6 and then into 2.775 by year 3. Operating expenses, we're going to keep relatively low. They run this property actually very lean, leaner than some of our mentors believe here, just because cost of living there is a lot cheaper, right? I mean, it's a different market. You can get maintenance staff, like a high quality maintenance staff at $20 to $22 an hour. Here, you're looking at $25, $26 an hour, right? So you can get, and then the taxes are low. We don't have a lot of property taxes, because they have a lot of state income tax.
Yeah, so every market is different for income-wise as far as what they can afford and what that area is, and every area is different as far as our operating expenses. What it costs us to operate in Phoenix is completely different from Houston, Dallas, Mississippi. It's all completely different. So when you go to a new area, you have to gather that additional information. So, sure we do. Kudos.
Then the mortgage and cap expenditures, this is a property that is not on interest only. We are paying a true mortgage and principal and interest payment. So the net cash flow of year 1 was about $528,000. Reason why we didn't distribute all of that is because this property went, when we took over, was 95% occupied. Physical. Actual collecting was probably in the 75 to 80% range. Yeah. Occupancy never dropped below 85%. We've had 60 to 70% turnover in 11 to 12 months. And income never dropped below 165 to 170,000 and is now at 219,000.
Sweet. Kudos. That's awesome. All right, so I want to point out a couple things. If you go back and do the math as far as his current collections, you multiply that times 12, and you're going to find out that's not even year 2. So he's definitely being, as revenue, he's being very conservative on these projections. But I will tell you, anybody who's ever worked as far as forecasting, budgeting in the corporate world, it's all complete BS, right? Y'all know that, right? It's whatever the upper-ups want them to be. So these numbers are probably a little bit more conservative because he is an engineer, a little bit more conservative. So when we're looking at the actual returns in year 1 and we're projecting, it will probably be very well double-digit returns. And this is just the cash, right? This is just the cash from the investment, right? Everybody get that? Now, remember what we said earlier. What values the property? What increases the value of a property? NOI. What decreases it? Is this going up or is this going down? All right, so it's going up. So next slide.
When I bought this property, it had a NOI south of $1 million.
Crazy. South of $1 million. All right, so here's the values going forward. All right, so at the very top, I'll go through this real quick. Everybody put in $7.2 million, right? Everybody get that? That was the investment in the deal. He purchased it at $15.4 million. In year 1, we increased the NOI. The property value went to $20.6 million. We had that on the first screen. Everybody get that? Okay. Now, if we were to sell that right now and pay off the debt, we had $9.7 million debt, and we returned all of your capital back to you, right? We gave all of your investment back, all right? We would be, we'd have an additional $3.7 million to distribute to you. That would be a gain that you would get distributed if we sold it in year 1 right now. Everybody get that? Just because of what he's done.
That'd be over a 50% return in 1 year.
Is that good?
We'd be okay with that. Now, that's not what he's going to do because he's a greedy capitalist. What do you really do?
So what happens in year 2? NOI goes what? Goes up, right? So what happens to the value of the property? Goes up, right? So based on these projections, year 2's we're $26 million. Go through the same sale, if we sell it to now we've made over $9 million in year 2, right? Anybody want to sell now? Why? You made 100%, over 100% return, right? All right. So you're going to roll the dice, right? Maybe 3 years. And what's going to happen in year 3?
Just make more. Make more money.
Yeah, do you see how excited the engineer is? He's showing 160% return. Make more money. Who likes these conservative like that? We all do. You know, that's what we teach. Good job.
Very good. Awesome. So that's the gist of this. And that's the, again, we mentioned earlier when I was talking about we bought 10 years ago, we bought 5 years ago. What would happen if you would have bought then? This is exactly what probably is going to happen. Absent another COVID, whatever. But even during COVID, dude, we're making money. It's crazy.
And I want to explain the same thing again, even though you did a great job explaining it, because some people get confused about this. If you put 100 grand in, right, you get your 100 grand back. And then on top of it, you got another 160 grand. Who'd be okay with that? You see that? That's the math. Do it however you want. Okay? I just had to explain that.
Yeah, no worries. Plus, also, we didn't even add that we also, out of cash flow, we've already distributed 250. Next year, it's 850, $1 million in year 3. That's on top of that capital return. Y'all get that? That's incredible, guys. Not excited? Y'all just are so exciting. We got a bunch of engineers in the audience.
There's one more thing we got to bring up. He's doing this. This is a full-time job. This is a lot of work. He's the one running the property. He's the one hiring, firing, well, he's staff and all that. You have other investors in this, 100 investors. Are any of them in the room by chance? You know? Anybody in the room?
Yeah.
Oh, you actually have some of your investors in the room. Okay. How much work do those investors do on this deal? Could you explain that to them?
Y'all want to speak for yourselves? Or? I guess it depends on how long it takes you to download your financial statements and analyze them.
You got to check after the first quarter. They held back a quarter, right?
July 2021.
So are you happy yet? See how excited he is too? Yeah, I got
Next conversation I got to have with him is that the lender's going to give us another $5 million.
Yeah.
So do we take it now?
Yep.
Or do we?
Very sweet. All right, so how'd you achieve this?
Increasing the income and decreasing the expenses, bringing up the NOI. So like I said before, we took income from about 160, 170,000 a month up to 219 last month. That's a pretty substantial increase in income. That's massive. Yep. And like I said, that's not including dropping occupancy below about 85%. So the traffic in this area is tremendous, right? So just getting people out, getting people in, getting people out, getting people in. They are one bedroom, so they're easier to turn. But I mean, when you're turning and getting 20% rent increases on old leases to new, I mean, some of these were at $500, $600 a month. I mean, who's heard of that?
It's in Mississippi, though. Different.
But still.
There are deals like that everywhere.
Yeah, you just have to look for them, right? So
you make money when you buy, and that's what you're doing.
And then we decreased the expenses. They had a whole lot of, I mean, just the water bill alone, we dropped 40%. Leaks in the pool, running water faucets all over property. I mean, just simple stuff, right? So decreasing expenses by 10% is honestly a conservative amount.
And I believe in the 2-day you go over a whole list of how to increase income and decrease expenses. Okay, how many ways?
28 different ways.
28 different ways. I need to take that course sometime.
You probably should.
And like I said, also professional operation. That was the biggest thing. Just making sure that they're leasing out to the people that can afford to pay the rent and not leasing to people that can't. You know, that was the biggest thing. They were letting anybody and everybody in. And just, you know, when I went there last week, it was funny seeing just people walking around that you could feel comfortable around. You know, you're not feeling like you're going to get mugged or something. You know, what's that? 1980. Yep. So.
Question was, what year was it built? Somebody asked, just so the people online can hear.
All right, next slide.
So how has lifestyles changed my life? Well, Lifestyles team has taught me how to successfully operate multifamily properties, which turn to provide means for early retirement. I am by no means retired, so if y'all think I am retired, that is not the case.
Yeah, so just again, so y'all understand, leads, when they do the deal, they are working. This is a job. They may have changed. He's no longer working in corporate world, but he's definitely working on his businesses now, right? And we'll go over this a little bit later, but the lifestyle is not working. The lifestyle is what that gentleman's doing right there, sitting there and saying, I made a phone call, and now I'm collecting checks. That's the lifestyle that we all want to get to. Very cool.
Short-term goals, obviously, purchase more multifamily properties so I can catapult that money into my long-term goals of invest passively, where I can just, my money works for itself. Spend time with my family, set up my wife and I for quote-unquote early retirement, and leave behind a legacy for my boys to continue to build on.
Very cool.
Who's on my team? Nicole Scott helped me analyze the deal, run numbers, and Randa's given me some actually on-site feedback.
She actually went out there, didn't she?
She did.
All the way to Mississippi.
She surprised me.
See there.
She called
Give
me.
her a hand for
I was
doing
in
that.
Houston.
Well, she is the national, aren't you the national consultant, though? National and Houston. Houston and national. We'll just go with that way. Very cool. Awesome. All right, well, let's go back. Well, I think we have time for a little bit of a couple questions, but can I get a round of applause real quick? Because that's impressive. Very impressive.
You have a question? I just want to do this. It's easier for me.
Did you have a KP on the deal, and how many times do you visit the property?
Yes, I have two.
Explain what a KP is in brief.
So
seconds.
to buy these deals, you have to have the net worth and liquidity, right? So the loan amount was 9.9. You have to have net worth of 9 million with a liquidity of at least 900 to a million liquid. So I don't have that much liquidity or that net worth. So we grabbed a couple other guys, and that's how I secured the debt.
Yeah, so that key is, you say key, it means key principle, right? It's basically a person, if they don't have that much net worth themselves, they have to bring in a friend or another friend that's probably also in the deal, and they'll all kind of be called KPs, key principles. They're part of the note, okay, on that. They're not responsible for the note, okay? Unless he takes all the money and runs off to Tahiti, then they probably will be responsible for the note. But other than that, it's non-recourse, okay?
Multifamily deals, how many in the line is this for you?
Oh.
This would be number 4.
How big was your first one? Because people always like to hear that.
My first deal was an IRO, and it was 54 units. Myself and another couple. Yep. Oh, did I?
Hello? How much you put into the deal?
Oh, they want to know how much you put in the deal.
This deal I put 150 in.
You put 150 grand of his own
My
money.
own liquid
That's good.
capital, yeah.
Yep.
All right, any questions online?
What is your last name?
Is that the officer?
say it.
speaking? PV.
Peavy, Chris Peavy.
And how long did it take you to find this property?
It didn't take long. There's another syndicator or lead investor here in Lifestyles that is actively looking in that area, and he's like, hey, look, I can't buy it all.
Yep.
I know you're struggling in Houston. Come on over, take a look. And so I did. I mean, it's a 6-hour drive from here to Biloxi, and to me, that's really not a big deal. So
When you say struggling in Houston, you mean struggling to find your next deal.
with cash flow.
Okay, very cool.
One that fit his parameters.
you
Doesn't
go.
mean there's
Correct.
not deals that use just
Question?
to fit
Correct.
his parameters.
All right, we have another question right there.
What made you decide to be the lead and not the passive investor? Like, what is
My wife doesn't want me to sit around the house.
valid answer?
Valid answer.
You can be a lead if you want. Everybody in this room can be a lead.
Really. Okay, we have time for one more.
How many times do you actually go out to the property?
Oh yeah,
I go once a month. So I'll go out. I'll usually drop my kids off at school, or now just leave them at home because it's summer. And then I'll drive out on a Monday or Tuesday and then come back on a Friday.
But you also have a third-party management company managing the property in your absence,
Correct.
right? Okay.
Yeah, my properties here I manage on a self-managed basis. Over there I use third party.
Okay.
And that's the goal, is to buy back your time. Even as a lead, we're buying back our time. So it's not like a corporate job where you're working oil and gas or coke and grass, whatever he did, working 80 hours a week anymore. He's working on his schedule around his schedule.
Exactly.
Very cool.
One more.
All right.
Michael asked, did you start with single family or go right to multifamily?
I did not. I had a full-time job at the time. I had enough capital saved up from both my wife and I when we lived in Wyoming. There's nothing to do. Sorry for the people in Wyoming if I offended you. But we saved up enough to where we had enough liquidity we could just jump right into multifamily.
And that's something I'm going to teach this weekend. Where should you start based on your financial position? If you have the money to do it, you could skip right over single family, go right to multifamily. Single family is not training wheels for multifamily. We have a lot of members go right away, passive invest, or buy their own deal right out the gates. So, and I'll teach you the differences this weekend.
But single family is an excellent way to build your
Yeah,
wealth.
Lee started with single family.
Yeah. It's an excellent way. I'm still a big proponent, depending on where you're at.
Do you still have a single family?
Hell no.
Almost made it.
Oh,
Almost.
is that a bad one? I mean, I'm
kinda
sorry.
bad.
I mean,
All right. All right.
I
That's
hit that
great.
one. All right. Thank you very much. Very good.